First order of business is the review and approval of the minutes from the April meeting. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Vince Bader, is there a second?
Second.
Jen? All right, any discussions? All right, all those in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
If you're on video, just raise your hand. Any opposed? None, any abstentions? Right, minutes are approved. So, for this meeting, we're going to keep it somewhat streamlined and just focus on the subcommittees and their reports. So we'll start with the pro bono subcommittee and Judge Stewart.
Right, well, so in between, when we last met and now, actually, our committee has been working in two subgroups. One of those subgroups, is focusing on, developing a website or improving one of the websites that's already out there, and publicity. Basically, in an effort to let both the would-be clients of pro bono services know and would-be providers of pro bono services know what opportunities are out there, and maybe work on making some connections between both the what I would call supply and the demand. So that's what one group is doing. The other group has been designing and actually recently implemented a listening tour project. So in June, we had two of what we expect will be a number of listening sessions. I attended one with Damon, and Justice Bright attended the other one. And I apologize if there's someone here on the screen that was also at one and I can't see you. So in any event, the point of these is to find out what people are already doing in terms of providing pro bono. These sessions are with lawyers. And the first two that we did were with the larger firms in the state of Connecticut. And we did have pretty decent turnout. I was actually impressed how many people responded positively. It might have helped that the email that went out inviting them had a couple of judges on it. But in any event, so we started getting feedback, and we're actually, the committee is going to meet on this coming Monday, the whole committee, both sides, to talk about what we learned at those first two sessions. First of all, to find out what's going on out there, but second of all, to kind of refine our efforts, because in the fall, we look to have some other listening tours with regional, local bar associations, with in-house lawyers and other groups of people where we hope to cast a broader net of what we've cast so far. I'll also just mention that in case you all didn't read the Law Journal when it hit the press on Tuesday, there is a new MCLE rule that provides credit for pro bono work. And the upshot of that, I'm embarrassed to say I am on the MCLE commission, this committee, and the rules committee.
Yeah.
And I don't know how I did that trifecta, but it's that the rule change in each organization. So I have to cheat and look at these numbers of hours here. But the bottom line is the as adopted rule is 1 hour of credit for every 3 hours of pro bono work done. And you can get a maximum of 6 hours credit during a calendar year. So we're hoping that will also encourage people to do more pro bono work. So unless people have questions, that's my report.
One thing that I'll say that was discouraging to learn when we did the listening tour, I was asking about the website, probono.org, and none of the lawyers who were managing partners or pro bono partners from their law firms had even heard of the website. So, so we need to do some work there. What was encouraging though was all of the attorneys that we talked to at the one tour I went to seemed to have really developed deep connections with one or more legal aid organizations, and we're getting steady stream of work from those organizations. And we talked about ways that we could improve that or make it more efficient. So it was very helpful, and it was very encouraging, as Judge Stewart said, the turnout that we got and the real commitment that we saw from the firms.
Right. I would echo both of the statements that you just made, the negative one and the positive one. I didn't think there was, my biggest takeaway really was that at least these larger firms have really made it their business to marry themselves to at least one, if not several organizations, prominently veterans organization and Lawyers for Children America, or some group like that, that will provide ready-made training, forms, vet the cases up front, that type of thing. That was definitely a big takeaway, but I was impressed how much is actually getting done. An enormous amount of them are doing federal prisoner cases. That's largely because that's the price of admission for federal employees.
Yeah, I did not realize this, that federal courts now have a pro bono requirement that if you file an appearance in federal court, you have to commit to take, is it 1 pro bono case over
Yeah.
the year or something?
Yeah. You don't get to say no anymore.
Right, yeah.
It's mandatory.
So that is resulted in a significant uptick, although my impression was most of junior associates who were in states.
Yeah, but whoever is doing them is doing them, so. But in federal court, it's individual appearance and stuff, so I think if you're filing an individual appearance, you would have to then admit that you personally will do some, at least some of it for one. Yeah.
Oh, they're even making people pro hot.
Yeah, oh, really?
Which is interesting.
Yeah. So, but so someone at the meeting I was at asked, well, you know, we can do it in state court. I said, no, we've kind of said that we're not going to do mandatory pro bono, although I did mention that one of the things that one of our committees is looking at is a pro bono academy for newly admitted lawyers. Hear more about that, but it was a really good first start in the process for the pro bono subcommittee, and I think it should lead to more things and maybe more integration with firms. Let me just also say in that regard, as Judge Stewart said, the plan would be in the fall to go meet with regional bars, affinity bars, in-house. If anyone is interested in participating that in your kind of local regional bar, let us know and we'll make sure that you're included when we set up those meetings. Right, self-rep access issue subcommittee.
Hi, everyone. So our committee last met on the 18th of June. We have 2 different working groups, one on advocate programs and navigator programs, and another on plain language. In terms of, I'll start with the advocate working group. We looked at a number of internal resources that the branch has, including the publication, How Can We Help You, and some videos. And as you may recall, although we're looking at self-rep, our focus, so that we weren't pulled in many directions, was to focus on housing. And so we're looking at creating, our proposal will include creating videos, slide decks, and flowcharts that could make understanding the legal process as it relates to housing easier for self-represented parties. And New York was highlighted as an example. They have some really good materials that we'd love to replicate for Connecticut in terms of the design. We want to make sure that folks can access the information. People learn differently. We want to make sure that we have multiple formats. Obviously, we'd take into account accessibility of those documents, as well as a multitude of languages if we needed them, that they'd be translatable. We're looking at a navigator program, and we've made some great headway with at least members of our committee. Our subcommittee have talked to folks at the internship program, and there may be an ability to, in a limited way, have those interns work on a navigator program, which would be very different than the mediators. But instead, in certainly the larger districts, they would help individuals navigate, and that may be to the courthouse, to the courtroom itself, give some specific information about the process, like not to leave, there's going to be a call, you have to sit and listen, and then they may be able to direct folks to additional resources. So one of our goals would be to have perhaps in court support services or other areas, external resources, whether that's the new iteration of Unite CT, and forgive me for not remembering, the DOH Direct Rental Assistance Pilot Program, Department of Social Services, other local community organizations that may help individuals who are maybe experiencing homelessness or need additional assistance on their housing. In terms of our Court Advocate Pilot Program, thinking about the best way to move forward in terms of number one, identifying clear, distinct issues that our volunteers would need to address, whether that's for landlords or for tenants. We understand that the majority of the folks who are coming in as self-rep parties would be likely be tenants, but we want to make sure that we also have folks available for tenants. We'd work with the bar associations, as including the landlord bar, to help with the volunteers. We'd identify, again, specific areas instead of a full-blown representation. They'd be available for brief advice versus full-blown representation. Our plain language folks are working on forms as well, and so we have a lot of overlap with the Legal Aid Committee. And so our committee will work with the Legal Aid Committee to move some of the initiatives forward. We did have, I'm going to defer to my colleagues so I don't screw up the what happened. But I know that we've made some changes on the mediator side to clearly identify mediators, and I'd certainly defer to Travis in particular on what that looks like and how that was implemented. But I'm feeling very positive about meeting the deadlines and ensuring that we've met all of our obligations under the charge.
Thank you. Travis, anything you wanted to add?
No, I think the mediators just started to make some changes in how they introduce themselves to further identify them and distinguish them from other members of the bar that are in the courtroom. So in the beginning, when they give the intro, they introduce each mediator, and each mediator just kind of raises their hand or stands up to identify themselves and let the patrons know and the self-reps know that they'll be coming to speak with them in mediation, and that just kind of helps distinguish the members of the bar and mediators in the courtroom.
Right. Anyone else from the committee have anything they want to add? Anyone have any questions? One thing, and I can't remember whether we've talked about this before, Judge Demiel or with anyone else. Judge Pizzuto, when I was talking to her some months back about doing some of this navigator type work, suggested that we might want to do videos that we could post on our website for each courthouse that shows someone who's looking at it where everything is in the courthouse, to give them some type of orientation, so when they show up at the court, they kind of already can visualize where they're going and where everything is. So that might be something that while you're working on the navigator plans that and the kind of self-help guides you want to think about and incorporating into that work.
It is definitely on our list.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Anyone else? No? All right. The Law Libraries and Law School Subcommittee.
Yeah, we have a committee that is blessed with experienced people in access to justice, especially amongst the law librarians who have been a part of this committee in its earlier versions. And so a lot of the things they've come across over the years have been addressed in earlier versions of access to justice. So we did have a number of meetings and talked with people in the information desks and the law librarians and clerk's office on what are newer issues that are popping up that need to be addressed, and kind of realize that the people who are sometimes in the courthouse for the first time on restraining orders, protective orders, issues like that, could be an area where there's a lot of questions asked on the information desk and at the law librarians. So the project that we're working on, and I will say this also from the law schools, like I'm in New Haven Family right now, and Yale and Quinnipiac have a program right in the courthouse where we have great students. And it occurred to me as I came to this meeting at 2:00, I tried to meet with all those students like on their first day of work, and there was a new student from Quinnipiac starting today at 2 that I was like, oh, I'm not meeting with the new student today because I forgot this meeting was here. But I have been, I mean, as a judge and as someone in the courthouse, just really impressed with the students who are working in that program. And I know I sent an email to, Brian to just thank him for the great Quinnipiac students they're sending in this morning. But I did forget to put into that email is what we're looking at as our project is sort of that navigator specifically for the people in need of restraining order who might be their first time in court, protective order, first time in court, and working on a web series, a video program, resources for people who have never been in the court system before that may need help, not just on the applicant side of a restraining order, but even how to respond, like how to put evidence in to your hearing. Because a lot of times people don't know that. They just expect I'm going to show up with a police report and that's admissible immediately, issues like that to help people through that process and trying to identify some of those students who are in the program. And right now we're working with self-reps, assisting them to kind of be the people who are helping us work on that web series and create those programs. And, just like you said, how to show up in the courthouse and where to go and how to put your evidence in. What is the judge going to want to hear? And what is the best things to present? Working on a web series and kind of utilizing some students to help them get experience in the court also at the same time. I'm trying to identify some of the students, but that is going to be our project of kind of working on this web series that we've discussed to kind of help people on restraining orders or protective orders where right now the law librarians and the information desk people feel there may not be enough resources. If people are visual these days, we have tons of brochures and pamphlets, but let's try to get the information to people in a usable format so they can see the process and how things work. And again, this really comes out a lot from, I'll say it personally, from my experience with how good those students are when working with the self-reps and what experiences they've been picking up. And I try to meet with all the students also, as well as some of the law librarians do after their experience and what they're picking up too, from their seeing from a different perspective. So I would say, I'm not calling out Quinnipiac specifically, but they've just really been great students as far as helping us see this issue. Yale's also been helpful and UConn's been helpful, but that's what we're working on for a project to hopefully have something good to go for next year.
Great.
I know everyone expects me to just have a housing, project. So all the other committees kind of have housing down and I'm always assisting over there, but this is a need that was identified by a lot of our law librarians and information desk people. So that's where I'm kind of leading the committee to focus on that issue, and we'll also be around to help with the other issues.
Anybody else from that committee have anything they want to add on that? I was going to mention this after all of them, but I think this is a good time to bring it up because I think it ties in with what Judge Debbie Hall and Judge Bader are both talking about in terms of making these resources available to self-reps. We should remember to include as a really valuable, important resource our public librarians. So as we're putting this material together, making whatever we have available and involving the public librarians in those discussions is important because everyone may not live close to a courthouse. Everyone certainly doesn't live close to one of three law schools, but everyone is close to a public library. And I think everyone can get to a public library and access those resources. And I know Dawn's at the meeting today, and I don't know, Dawn, you want to talk a little bit about that? I don't mean to put you on the spot, but.
Absolutely, I'd be happy to. Thank you. Working with this group has been incredibly important and collaborative. And I would like all of you to know, all of the different committees to know that the public libraries are a wonderful resource. And this Connecticut State Library, particularly my division, is the kind of like the aggregator, the distributor, the basically putting all this information out. So I would be happy to work with your committees to ensure that we can get the pro bono website, if it's a public website, we can get these videos. But I would also like to offer our services in part of my division is the Connecticut Library for Accessible Books. So we do a lot of work on accessibility and ensuring that our websites, our content, our PDFs, our videos, our slide decks are all accessible. So we can certainly offer up our services to help you with that, but also to distribute to through our centralized website. The information. What I would also recommend too is, and what we did in the past with the working group on public libraries and access to justice, is having information sessions, because the most important people in the library to have this information are the reference librarians and the circulation staff, because they are the point at which the self-represented party goes into the public library to ask for this information. So information sessions on what's available, the videos, the assistance is so incredibly important that our librarians, library staff are able to direct, because we know the courthouses aren't open on the weekends, they're not open in the evenings. And in my experience in 22 years in public libraries is we're often the first place that people go for assistance. They go for the NOLO books, they go for those quick guides, they go for those kind of like the triptych to the navigating the court experience. So I'm offering my assistance, I'm offering our resources and services. Again, the State Library Division of Library Development, we are the clearinghouse for all information going out to all of our public libraries in the state. So feel free to loop me in, send me an email, share some content. And again, I would be happy to share any accessibility issues with my staff at CT Lab. We're pretty expert in that. We kind of been navigating that for the entire state of Connecticut.
Thanks, Dawn. I was going to ask you, would it be, we have a lot of content on our website for self-represented individuals to access, and lawyers to access too. Would it be helpful if we did kind of a training session for the research librarians just on our website as a starting point as we develop this other material?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay.
And that's, again, one of the things that we did in the past years is kind of having, legal reference 101 offered to our reference librarians. So certainly we could also link the site to all of their websites through our aggregator site. So there's a lot we can do for you.
Okay, great. So we'll get started on that. Ms. Bader?
I'll be honest, that's something I found enlightening through this process myself. As when I was an attorney, then as a judge, I never really thought about the public libraries as much as I learned in the past year how our law librarians interact with our public librarians. In April, they did a session at the Mystic annual meeting, because they're bringing a lot of that information out, and I didn't realize how much the local libraries were used by self-represented parties to get that first point of contact. And I learned that through this process, just me personally. And that's actually one of the things the law librarians brought that they had gotten feedback from the research librarians at their April meeting. One of the things they're asked a lot about is restraining orders and evictions. Those are two of the main areas that they get asked about. And so, I kind of felt like I hadn't thought of that over the years, but how much of an important resource that is to make sure that our local librarians are briefed on those issues to be able to help give the answers or help people find those answers. I mean, they're already doing it, but to more formalize it, to just make sure they're aware of what's out there, has been something our law librarians have been working on for a number of years. To their credit, I was amazed with how much I've learned that they've been doing, but it's something we have to just keep doing.
And the other thing I would say for the pro bono subcommittee and the legal aid subcommittee, to the extent we are talking about doing clinics, whether it's on foreclosure clinics or eviction clinics, where we're gonna have local attorneys just meet with people, provide basic information. Local libraries are a great venue for those types of clinics. And it doesn't take, more than a few attorneys to, plan to be there and work with the local librarian to set up a counseling type session, or as I said, kind of a basic information session. So, as those subcommittees are continuing to work through ideas and projects, I'd suggest not forgetting about the local libraries as venues for those types of programs. Anybody else have anything? Okay. Thanks, Don. We look forward to working with you and the other public librarians more often and more productively. All right, and then Legal Aid Subcommittee, Judge Thomas is away, so Nicole's going to provide his report.
So on behalf of Judge Thomas, following a series of presentations by experts and resulting discussions among committee members, the Legal Aid Committee has developed 4 areas of focus for our efforts. The committee will partner with the Self-Represented Litigants Committee on certain of these projects that overlap our respective churches. Members of the committee will be invited to join one or more of the following working groups, which will begin their efforts over the summer and into the early fall. So the first working group will be the Pro Bono Academy, an annual half-day training event offering substantive training to attorneys in pro bono civil legal aid areas. Training will be offered in tracks covering topics in family, housing, evictions and foreclosures, and consumer debt collection. Working group members will develop the program, compile training materials, identify and confirm trainers, and address logistical concerns with the goal of holding the first academy in the fall of 2026. The second is pro bono training in MCLE, building from developing efforts to offer MCLE credit for pro bono representation. Working group members will develop and present a rule of professional conduct rule change proposal to require training in the provision of civil legal pro bono services in the first year of admission to the Connecticut Bar. The third is eviction diversion. Following the presentation and report from the National Center for State Courts on Eviction Diversion efforts across the country, working group members will develop a model or pilot eviction diversion program to implement in Connecticut. Such a program could work within the existing eviction mediation program and would involve the connection of parties in active eviction litigation for legal representation, rental assistance, housing code enforcement, financial counseling, and other necessary supportive services. Such services would, to the extent feasible, be available in court so that any financial stipulated judgment or other agreement would reflect the involvement and pragmatic benefits of these third-party resources, offering a more global and mutually beneficial resolution to both landlords and tenants. The last working group is the self-guided forms. Court systems in nearby states, including New York, are employing self-guided forms to assist self-represented litigants to complete common court forms. Also known as ATJ forms, these electronic guided forms are similar to traditional tax preparation software, in which the user is guided through a series of questions, which then populate a complete form to the litigant to review, sign, and file. This working group would explore the feasibility of implementation of self-guided forms in Connecticut and work to develop an initial set of forms that can be offered in a self-guided form model. The subcommittee's discussion to date have identified the writ of audita querela in evictions and financial affidavits in family matters. As a document that requires frequent assistance from court staff, service centers, and law libraries, these 2 documents may be a good starting point for initial rollout of self-guided forms in Connecticut.
Anybody from that subcommittee have anything they want to add to that report? I just note a couple things. One, with respect to the academy and the training, I think the idea is if we're going to have a rule, which we have now, that says you can get pro bono credit or I'm sorry, MCLE credit for doing pro bono work, we ought to be training people to do it, so that the people who are getting the pro bono services are getting people who know what they're doing. When I brought this up at the meeting with the law firms, some of the attorneys thought it might make sense to give like a 2-year period for that training program, because new associates are busy just learning what to do as first-year associates, that it might be more productive if you gave them the option of doing it in the second year that worked better with the firm. And then the self-guided form model, I think, is a good idea, but it kind of makes the point that Judge Spader, or drives home the point Judge Spader is making, that it's important for the self-represented parties to understand what's the next step. It's fine if you have a form that will complete an answer and suggest defenses to you, or let you plead a defense, and then you show up in court and the judge says, well, what evidence do you have to support that defense? And it says, well, the computer didn't tell me that I had to put on evidence. So I think developing that next step is an important part, not only for the litigants, but also for the judges, who are then confronted with someone who's filed a writ of Anita Grella and doesn't know what they are supposed to do next. So I think all of these things do kind of work hand in hand, and one builds on the other. Okay. So those are the reports that we had. That's all we were going to do, was kind of check in and see how everyone was doing. Does anybody have any questions or comments or regarding any of the subcommittee work as we head into the summer and then in the fall, when we'll start gearing up for the conference? We did not put on the agenda an update on the conference. I don't know, Judge Rapillo, if there is any update.
There's no update at this point.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So our next meeting will be in October.
October 1st.
October 1st. And hopefully then we'll have all of the subcommittees will have solidified their plans, and we can talk more about the conference. I will say that at the next meeting, I think there will be 2 other things to think about. One, we're going to have a discussion about the discovery rule proposal that we discussed last time about the housing changes. The Rules Committee will be back in session at that point, and we will provide to everybody some statistics that we developed since our last meeting regarding the number of self-represented defendants versus self-represented plaintiffs versus cases that have both self-represented parties in housing. And we can continue with those discussions. There were kind of 2 parts to the proposal that was made by Jamie and Giovanna, and I think that there was more discussion and maybe disagreement about one part of it, and I would suggest, to the extent there is a discussion that you want to have about that one part, to maybe find some areas of agreement between now and October, that would be a good idea. And maybe we can come up with something that, as a committee, we would feel comfortable recommending to the Rules Committee. The second thing I'm excited about is, at our next meeting, I hope that we will have onboarded an access to justice coordinator for the judicial branch. We posted the position a few weeks ago. We're going to be doing interviews in July. The idea is the person would spend about the vast majority of their time, depending on what projects we have going on, working on access to justice issues, and then also providing support to our diversity, equity, and inclusion group. And that support would be outreach. Our diversity, equity, and inclusion group has been focused primarily on internal type work, and the idea is there's some synergy between access to justice issues and certainly inclusion. I mean, that's the whole idea between access to justice, is getting more people included in the process. So the coordinator would do a lot of outreach and make sure, for example, that when we develop a website, people know such a website exists. So I'm excited to be going through that process, and hopefully in October we'll be able to introduce everyone to our new Access to Justice Coordinator. That's all that I have. Does anybody have anything else? Okay, is there a motion to adjourn? So moved. Joe Spader, second. All right. Seeing no objection, we're adjourned. Have a good summer, everyone.